there is a lot more to learning and education than just getting a job or a livelihood. We need to do exceptional work because that's when you stand out. Being assertive and being consistent eventually pays off, both with little kids as well as in business.
Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast, The Happy Cast. This is me, Jyotika Bedi, your host and founder of Happiness is Love. Today I have with us an amazing, multi-talented person, Sayed Sultan Ahmed. Welcome.
Hey, such a pleasure to be here, Jyotika. Really looking forward to this.
I am so grateful to you that you've taken out time. For our audiences, I want you to know that he is a chairperson of TAISI. Is that right? TAISI, is that how you pronounce it?
TAISI.
TAISI. Can you also, I'll ask you again what it really means. It's really cool. He's an MD, chief learner at LXL Ideas and Krayon. And what I respect the most about this man is that he's a very warm and a helpful person and a doting father of two girls. Such a joy to connect with you.
Such a pleasure to know you as well, Jyotika. I've known you for a while now, and I think you're one of the happiest people that I know. And I'm so glad that you keep spreading joy and happiness. And which I think is such a rarity in our world today, because we seem to specialize, especially through the digital and social media, we seem to specialize in sharing grief, in sharing negativity, in sharing stuff which is not necessarily happy. So I'm glad you break that jinx, and there are people like you who are still spreading joy and sunshine.
Thank you. And it takes one to know one. That's why I think we resonate, because our vision is the same. The first time I met you, I felt the warmth. I felt there's a creative chemistry because our visions align. There was, there's so much that we can do together. And I want our audience to know that you are a revolution starter. And today we are going to explore how the evolving landscape of education has changed because of leaders like you and how you do it in a creative way. So please just tell us a little bit about you before I jump into asking you questions and make it more formal, but just a little introduction that you'd like about yourself and your new role at TAISI.
So Sultan Ahmed, that's my name, born and brought up in Bangalore, chemical engineer by qualification. I studied engineering because my mother wanted me to study, never worked as one. My calling, my passion, and I think I'm really lucky because I realized my calling very early in life when I was in college. I loved working with students. I loved the idea of communication, the idea of helping students. And I chose that as my profession. And the one thing that I'm very proud of myself is I've remained true to that direction. It's been 22 years that I've been working in this space. So my philosophy is that there is a lot more to learning and education than just getting a job or a livelihood. Education is not about getting a livelihood. Education is about living a good life, and we need to prepare our children for that. And my work is about creating experiences, creating platforms, creating avenues which help our children to explore themselves and express themselves. And I do that through Krayon, which is my oldest company. We have been and we are India's most awarded and largest children events and activation company. The work that we do has varied over the years, but it's always been about fun, exciting events for children. The Pogo Amazing Kids Awards. We brought the spelling bee into India. We organized the largest finance literacy quiz called the National Stock Exchange Financial Quest. On the other hand, we've run one of the world's largest literary, art and cultural festival called the Holic Swiss Kids. We ran this for almost 18 years. We were the largest event in India, in Pakistan, in Nepal, in Sri Lanka. Massive, almost 1 million kids participating every year. So I've seen a generation of children participate in these events. That is all done through Krayon. On the other hand, we've also done some very meaningful projects like Bala Janagraha, which is a citizenship program for Janagraha. We've done finance literacy for the National Stock Exchange, road safety for Mercedes-Benz. We've done life skills for Akshay Patra Foundation. So through Krayon, through these partners, we've done multitude of work, and the reach that we have is quite phenomenal. I don't think anybody even matches it digitally. We reach about, on an average, anywhere from 5 to 25 million kids every year with our work at Krayon. So that's what we do. That's one part of my work. The other part of my work, what started off as life skills education, is now transformed into film-based life skills education, social emotional learning. I run a project called School Cinema. As a part of it, we are today the largest producers of children's films in India. These are short films we make, made by the brightest filmmakers of this country. And the interesting part is not just we made films on issues like adolescence or bullying or respecting old age or empathy to environment or economically backward sections of our society, or a film on why do I get angry, or on sibling rivalry. We've made films on all these topics, but these films are watched in schools. Students have a subject called School Cinema now. So film pedagogy is what I pioneered, and probably one of the few exponents in the world that uses film in the teaching learning process. And School Cinema today is a part of a curriculum for more than 1 million children in India. And my goal now is to take that to government schools and take it to international schools as well. So these are the two of my larger projects. I also publish a magazine called Mentor. I've advised a lot of governments, both central and state governments, on education policy. So these are my things that I've done in the past and I continue to do. My newest role is that of a chairperson of the Association of International Schools of India. It's a 20-year-old not-for-profit based out of India, and the goal is to help propagate more international schools that follow Cambridge and the IB baccalaureate curriculum, and help existing schools uplift their quality. So broadly, that's the long and short of the work that I do, Jyotika.
So exciting, super thrilling, and they have the right leadership. And in today's podcast, we're going to be focusing more on the impact of cinema and video content as a powerful tool for learning, because you are changing the landscape of education, and we're going to talk about how this can become a key resource in classrooms and online courses and self-directed learning. So my first question to you is, just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got so passionate about this learning space when nobody was really thinking about this unclaimed space.
I did not look at it now. Strategically, it looks like an unclaimed space. It's a space where nobody was operating in. But for me, the question was, the germination of the idea of School Cinema was a need that we had. So at some point of time, I had over 200 trainers with me all over the country running life skills workshops in schools. And even today, when I meet a lot of young entrepreneurs who say that they're very passionate about, working with children, the only idea that they come up with is, I have a great module and I want to go to a school and implement it. And I'm like, wait a minute, I did that 20 years ago. How do you scale this? How do you create more of yourselves? There are some great individuals and they remain individuals all their life. But I managed to transform this into a large organization, but even that was a big challenge. How do I scale more and more people? One. Two, how do I have consistency of quality? If I have this fantastic learning program and a great module, I give this to 100 people, they deliver it in 100 different ways in 100 different schools. So consistency of quality is always a challenge. And I was looking at a medium, and I've always used film clips as a part of my learning programs. And one of the days the idea struck that I use a clip in the program, why don't I make the program into a concept as a film?
Yeah.
And that's how the idea of filmmaking started. And it's been a fascinating journey coming from Bangalore and never having, my closest was that I was on stage. I'm a Bangalore theatre scene, very active for many years. I did English theatre in Bangalore, but I never made a film. So that journey of discovering how to make a film and meeting some great filmmakers from all over the world, especially in India, and making mistakes, learning how to make those films has been fascinating. And today what I realize is the world's largest filmmaking country. It's in India, by leaps and bounds. Because we have not just Bollywood, but you have Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, Odia, Assamese, patani kitne industries hain, right? And we are the world's largest young population, and we hardly make any good films for children. I wanted to change that landscape, and I can tell you that in these 14 years of making films, we've made some great films for children. So we're changing that language of good quality content to children. It's been a tough journey because everybody looked at me and said, how are you going to make your money?
Yes,
So
that's the first question. Yeah.
So that was the second question I had to answer. The first one was to just make good films. The other one was, how do you make money out of it? And I'm happy to report that if you think right and if you're innovative, you can solve problems. And this was one we've solved through school cinema, where schools buy a license from us. An annual license, a subscription is what they buy for them to use school cinema films. So this is how we came about the whole idea of film pedagogy and school cinema.
And how many schools do we have under our loving umbrella now? How many?
We have over 1,000 schools that use our program.
Wow.
Over 1,000 schools. I definitely have a school in Leh, Ladakh, which is the highest point in the country.
Amazing.
We have schools in Kanyakumari. I have schools in Nagaland. I have schools in Gujarat. So we definitely have schools in North, South, East, and West. We're predominantly South and West schools at this point of time, and some big cities in North like Delhi, Varanasi, Chandigarh. I think the goal now is to start going more into the heartland of the country and spread out more.
Lovely. Tell me a little bit about your team, because I know you believe in the dream team and you have a great team. So tell me a little bit about your team.
The work that I do, I think I take a lot more credit than I should, considering the amazing team that I have. I've also always believed in finding people who have the passion. And I think I do have now a formula of evaluating what passion is and how you figure out that spark in individuals, and take people who are experts in their field. So, Neha, who heads my films team, is extremely passionate about making films. And she's made some amazing films over the past decade that we worked together. Arif, who heads our business team, has been working with schools for over 20 years, and he and his team of over 100 people visit schools and evangelize. Both, even at my back end, my content team, multiple of them, research team, all of them, the common factor is that good work is not acceptable by me and our company. Because very good work is not acceptable. We need to do exceptional work, because that's when you stand out. Unfortunately, Jyoti, what I've learned is that, especially in India, while I love the country, we have this chalta hai attitude towards quality of work.
Right.
It's okay, we'll manage. And I believe that is one of the reasons why we don't innovate enough. So I've been extremely particular, and I've had a great team that's helped me believe in this philosophy. I mean, of course, they all believe in the vision, but also the philosophy and the ideology of being exceptionally good with your work. So I can be an extremely tough boss to work with, but the fact that our goal is common and our vision is common helps us, align ourselves. And with my phenomenal team that I have, and I also have to admit here, my team is not just the people who work as a part of my team, because every film that I make is sometimes 200-300 people who come together to make the film, and every school. The principal to the teachers, they are the ones who actually implement the program.
Right.
So I consider all of them as a part of my team. And together we've now created a very successful program.
Incredible. And because you're in the business of life skills, tell me a little bit about your own leadership skill and style. What is your style? What have you learned? Maybe there was a journey where you were a different version earlier and now you have become version 2.0. So tell me a little bit about your leadership style, please.
So, I'm version 5.0, I think.
I love that.
So I keep, so my designation is chief learner, and I genuinely believe that my biggest job is, and my biggest role is to keep learning and keep growing as an individual. Also to be very in touch and in sync with schools and children and parents and what's happening around in the world, because if I don't know the world, I start giving gyan, and I hope there's not a day that comes in my life when I start giving gyan. When you've lost touch with the world, you start giving gyan. That's what I believe.
True that.
Right. So I make a conscious effort to be in touch. So my leadership style, the first thing comes from there, is extremely practical. It's about knowing your environment, the ecosystem that you're working with, even before you decide to start doing something with it. I'm very, very clear about two things in my leadership style. I spend a lot of time on the vision and the milestones. I want my team to, along with me and my team, we as a team, have a lot of clarity on the vision and the milestones. And I think it's really important that all of us have the same clarity of vision and the milestones, right? And once that clarity is given, then I give a lot of freedom to my team.
Brilliant.
So they get a lot of freedom to try new things, to make mistakes. In fact, one of the values that we follow at LXL is our values itself are life, love, inquisitive, freedom, and empathy.
Wow, I love
right? So my team has a lot of freedom to make mistakes. In fact, the definition of freedom is you have freedom to make mistakes.
it. Wow.
Right? So a lot of freedom given to the team, and I believe my job, my role is to help my team come out of those mistakes, to help my team do things better. So my leadership style is, on one hand, a lot of clarity on vision, milestone, expectations, goals, measuring, all of that part. And the other one is giving them a lot of freedom. So my then role becomes that of a guide who's trying to look at, are you on the right track? How can I help you? So those are the questions you'll commonly hear me, when I'm reviewing my teams. There's a lot of questions that I ask, and a lot of times I admit that I don't know the answer myself, but I ask a lot of questions which are more directional and guiding questions. Yeah, so I can sum that up into three aspects of my leadership style. One is very practical, be on the ground, otherwise you will start giving yarn. To be very clear with your goals and milestones. And three, give a lot of freedom to the team to try out new things. I will add one more over here, very collaborative. One of the problems which our schooling system and colleges taught us is the moment someone gives you a problem or a question, you believe that it is your final exam and you have to immediately answer it. One, we tend to respond to it immediately because that is how our examination systems were designed. The faster you answered, the better it was.
Yes.
And I hate that system. So people tend to immediately try. And the second one is, you're not supposed to collaborate because you're copying, right? You're not supposed to ask somebody. So these two, for me, are great hurdles in people's creativity and innovation and working for excellence. So I inculcate my leadership style is a lot of collaboration. And I tell my team, you don't have to collaborate only with your team you're working with because they're a part of your team. There are other teams in the organization. Beyond the organization, there are people that you worked with in the past, your clientele that you work with today, or the internet, or the generative AI, or there are experts in the world who want to share a lot of information and knowledge. So we have a lot of consultants who come in for different teams. We have a lot of interns who come in and work with our teams. So collaboratively, I think that is another culture and a style of my leadership is very, very collaborative. I pretend a lot of times that I don't know it so that I learn from others. सबकी सुनो लेकिन अपनी करो.
बहुत अच्छी स्ट्रैटेजी है. और मुझे ये बताएं कि आप इतने रिस्पॉन्सिव कैसे हैं? This is one thing I admire about you, because I know that you have large teams that you're managing. There's home commitment, there's socializing. How are you so responsive? Because every time I have engaged with you, consistently within 24 hours, I will get a response from you. So much so that now I've got spoiled. Like if I don't hear from you within 2 hours, I'm like, I hope he's well. I hope everything is okay. So what is the magic? How do you do this?
I don't like one thing. I tend to be very judgmental of people who tell me they're busy. I think they don't manage their life and their time well.
What is that?
Right. So for me, I choose not to use the word busy.
Okay.
I choose to use the word priority. Right. So I'm very, very mindful of the fact that if I have left you with an open-ended response, which is neither a yes or a no, you're waiting, and I would not want to waste your time.
Oh, amazing.
So
you really value
very upfront. I'm very upfront, and I'm very respectful of people's time. So one of the things that I choose to do is, in my life, I have a lot of clarity about my priorities. I'm very clear about what I want to do, what I don't want. And 8 out of 10 times, I'm very free to say no to stuff that I don't want to do. And the other times that I want to do those things, even within my team, if 10 people come and talk to me and say they want my time, I look at the 10 and I tell 6 of them saying that you can manage it yourself, you don't need me. Right? So that's how I managed to do it. And the other one also is the fact that It gets difficult at times, but I'm also mindful and respectful of people communicating with me. The least I can do is communicate back or close the communications. I choose to do that. I hope I do it well, but
Exceptional. Exceptional. And I feel like we are twins in this aspect, because for me, I really value time, and because I'm respectful of people's time, I expect the same in return. And I have no problem in being assertive. I have no problem in saying no, but I do it with respect. But I will let other people know, whether it's my children or my husband or people at work, my time is important, so is yours. And energy is not infinite. Energy is finite. I cannot be available to everyone all the time. I cannot make everyone happy all the time.
and you can't, and you shouldn't.
I don't even try. I can say no with a straight face and then say, you know what, I'll get you the help that you need, not right now. Right now is not the time that I can help you. Come to me in 2 hours or find another person to help you, but I'm sorry, I can't help you right now.
I think that's one of the things I'd love to teach a lot of the younger generation, and I hope parents and educators who are listening to this get the fact that it's so important to teach assertiveness to our children, to be very mindful of the fact that you're disrespecting people by not responding to them, right? In multiple formats. So if you can teach children to respond, both communicate effectively as well as digitally, I think it's something that will be very, very helpful for our children, because that's something they need to learn.
Absolutely. And even from a parenting perspective, parents today are digitally distracted and emotionally disconnected, because emotionally they're not responsive to their children. The children learn the same, and then there is a clash because parents are not available, children are not available. Communication kahan jayegi? Kahan hogi communication? Kahan connection banega? So I'll tell you, interestingly, when I wasn't assertive. My 2.0 version was, I was more like a people pleaser, try to make everybody happy and, live in my little bubble. But when I started, because I'm in the life skills business and you have to practice what you preach and believe, when I started to become assertive with maybe my spouse or my children or my parents or whoever, my friends, I got a lot of pushback. Because, people around you are not used to seeing this new version of you, like, whoa, she's saying no, like, whoa, she can set boundaries, like, what's up with her, like, But if you stay firm in your ground and you believe that this is the right way, because you're also putting yourself first, which we're not taught.
Yes.
We as a society
Yes.
are taught to always take care of others' needs and always say yes, while internally I want to say no and I'm literally crumbling.
I think as a father, one of the things that I'm mindful of is to be very consistent with my little girls. You need to be very consistent, and it has nothing to be about judgmental. So children get very confused when they find inconsistency in behavior. So I think being assertive and being consistent, eventually pays off, both with little kids as well as in business.
100%. And they're watching you. They're learning by example. You don't have to teach them assertion. They're just learning by watching you.
And same does your team. So when you have a large team like I do, they're learning from you. So you can't give them bullshit and get away from it, because you'll have to practice it yourself.
Exactly. And you also get good at looking at other people's BS, because you're practicing it yourself, so you can look people in the eye and you can figure out that, okay, this person does not know what they're talking about. So again, I want to understand from you, what is the vision that you spoke about, the 5-year vision which everybody is working towards collectively? Is it defined for you? Is it there on your org chart? Like, what is the scene? How do you work out this vision boarding?
I used to do 5 and 10-year goals pre-pandemic.
Okay.
After the pandemic, I now choose to set 2-year goals for myself and the organization.
Nice.
Because I think it's a little more practical. It's because for 2 reasons. One is unpredictability of life itself. That's something that I've learned. The other one is also the change that's happening in the world. It's so much.
Yes.
Right. So what we are thinking now and doing today, we were not thinking 2 years ago.
True.
So if I set something as a vision or a milestone 2 years ago, I'll have to change that today, right? So that's the reason why I consciously make a firm plan for 1 year, of a horizon of the next 2 years, and things will take shape after that. So for me, there are 3 different. The first one that I have, Krayon, I think we do some fantastic work, and in the coming years, I want to do a lot more work with the government schools. A lot more government projects, a lot of CSR projects is what I would like to do, because the kind of experience that we have and the scale that we can reach, I don't think there are many companies that can do the kind of work and the organizations like we can do.
True.
So that's the goal for Krayon. By the way, Krayon is independently run by 2 or 3 of my colleagues who've been with me for over 15 years. They run that business. I'm more a mentor to them today than an active participant in the day-to-day affairs.
That's more on autopilot now? Is that more on autopilot now, Krayon work?
It is on autopilot. I choose the amount of time that I want to invest on that. There's no demand on that from that business of ours. At School Cinema, I have a fantastic team in LXL Ideas. I do spend a lot of time and most of my time with School Cinema today. Because my dream is, how do you take this amazing learning that we have from India?
Yeah.
It actually sets a benchmark of international innovation when it comes to education. No one on the planet does the kind of work that we do. Nobody else does it. We're a phenomenal and a beautiful cusp of entertainment and education. We're making education more relevant, more entertaining and exciting, and not many people have done it in as organized a manner as we have. So my work would be a lot more of that again, is to go down. I want our government school kids in rural parts of India, because cinema and film is a language that the most rural part of this country also appreciates and understands. So it's not technology that I have to teach them how to use it. They love it already.
Right.
It's just that I'm taking that medium to them through education. And on the other hand, take this Indian example and show to the world that Indians can be leaders even in education. Because while the world appreciates Indians as doctors and engineers and IT,
doesn't see us as leaders. They don't see us as leaders.
They don't see us as leaders of education, and that's the landscape I want to change. That's the conversation I want to change through the work I do. That's typically what I would do with TAISI. With TAISI, if you ask me what's my vision, across the world you will find Indian teachers.
Yes.
No matter which country in the world you go to Canada, Australia, you go to Korea, Japan, you go to South Africa, South America, you will find Indian teachers. But the world does not look up to India as an education leader like we look up to England or US. Forget about that. We look up to Finland, which is a tiny speck on India's map, or Singapore as education leaders. So I think I want to change that narrative through TAISI, which is the Association of Indian Schools. So TAISI is more vision because it's more not-for-profit work, and it's more about trying to support my member community of international schools. Whereas for my businesses, it's a 2-year horizon, and I hope to reimagine the goal every year. So that's how I look at it, Jyotika.
It will happen, inshallah. I'm sure it's going to happen.
Inshallah.
You have done a lot of work around family values, I see, and I want to understand from you, why is this so important to you and how you think it really impacts our Indian community?
A lot of what I say today sounds very, strategic and planned, but this is truly what I've believed in. I'm one of those, lucky few individuals who I loved my schooling. I loved my childhood. I've had a fabulous childhood. Of course, there were problems, different problems at home. But when I look back, the larger part of my childhood and schooling was very, very happy memories. There were a lot of phenomenally impactful educators and friends and family that has helped me shape who I was. And eventually, when it came to academics, I was not as good. Like a lot of people think that I was very good with academics. I was not very good. Not because I was bad at academics, it's because I didn't enjoy studying what I was studying. So
and the way it was taught to you, probably the way that you were taught, it was not fun at all.
Absolutely. So it was around that time I realized that what gets you success in the world. I started working very early. I was doing part-time jobs, which was unheard of when I was in 9th and 10th standard. I started my first business when I was in 8th standard. So I've been working forever and making money out of doing small little things. I learned that education only gets you to a certain distance. It gives you your first opening in your life. Beyond that, it's you. It's your personality.
Yes.
So while I hope I never negate the idea of education, I'm not a person who says that you shouldn't get academic knowledge or information. It's very important, but that is not enough. It's not complete. What you need is this ability to relate to people, to yourself, this ability to relate to the environment. How do you communicate to people, and how do you think differently, creatively? How do you solve problems when you're in a critical situation, and how do you handle stress and emotions? Now, these are skills that you pick up from your environment. And the problem today with children is the environment they live in. Half the environment is a screen, the other half is the school, the third part of it the home which is extremely monotonous and quiet. Invariably, the home is also a screen, right?
Yes.
So in this environment, I think bringing in family values becomes imperative for schools, for educators like me, and that's the reason why I choose to do it, because this can be the single biggest change maker
Yes.
into creating an empathetic society.
True that. I love it. Where do you see education go from here? And how can we further polish our skills in this space to reach a wider audience, which is our collective dream? Whether it's building more positive parenting skills to effective study skills. So tell me, what is your hope? What is your dream? Where are we headed?
I'm going to be very positive about this, because I'm an extremely positive person, because in spite of all the gloom, in spite of all the negativity, in spite of all the challenges around me, I've always chosen to ask myself a question. What is it that you can do to make things better? Otherwise, Jyotika and me can sit down and talk till the cows come home about what all is wrong in the Indian education system, what's wrong with our society. We can keep talking about what's wrong. So I love your question as to what I dream of and what I see in terms of education. What I would definitely dream of is, can we have stronger bridges between schools and the world outside? I think today what we have is probably windows and children through air-conditioned rooms looking outside to a world like another screen, and that's their touch with reality and the world. I would love to see schools building stronger bridges with the world outside. When I say the world outside, I definitely mean the environment. I mean the socio-economic classes. I mean cultural differences. I mean historical differences, geographical differences. Our children need to be more connected to the world. So that's one thing that I would hope for schools and colleges to do. Even colleges have that problem, because they're so stuck in the books that they forget that there's internships need to be given more importance.
Yes.
The other piece that I would love to see is, I have not yet seen technology make the life of a teacher better. If you ask me, the biggest challenge of education is teachers. We don't have good quality teachers. And the biggest challenge to good quality teachers is the mundane administrative, which I think is ridiculous, jobs that they do of evaluation, correction, tabulation, reporting, creating lesson plans. Seriously, in 2024, when I can sit down and ask ChatGPT to make my agreement for rental for
Exactly.
why are teachers sitting and still making lesson plans when the whole world has made enough lesson plans? So technology is not being used enough to make the life of all teachers. There's not a single person you will find who tells you they don't enjoy being with children in the classroom. They love that part. What they don't like is everything else around it. So I'd love to see technology make the life of a teacher easier, a bridge to the world outside with school children, technology making teachers' lives easier. And I would love for parents to start getting educated as well. Because, I became a father when my first daughter was born. I was not a father before that. Nature gave me the gift of becoming a father. It gave me a responsibility. But the knowledge and the wisdom of becoming a father becomes a journey of self-discovery for me. And I hope that I don't make blunders in this journey. So there are ways of learning from somebody else's wisdom. Of course, I will make my mistakes.
Yes.
Of course, I will have my own learning journey. But I think parenting as a responsibility is something that needs to be brought in more in the mainstream of learning and education. I don't mean that parents should start going to schools for parenting, but there's multiple ways and models of learning to become more knowledgeable about a parent. It's like a manual that somebody else has written, but you use your own driving skills, which helps.
Absolutely. In fact, I would love to see a parenting academy. I don't know how many parents will sign up for it, but that's my dream. To just get parents to come together, share, learn, grow, engage, connect, build. That's how we'll build a better world. So this is my hope and prayer. Maybe it will come true one day. And like you always say, with technology, we can make sure that there are courses available. Now there are so many resources available where we all come together as a community, a support group, to help each other be better and do better.
Absolutely. I think, without being too pessimistic, I must tell you that The biggest change that I've seen in the Indian parents in the past few years is they have prioritized their child.
Yes. Yes.
Right? My parents' generation did not prioritize the child. They had a lot of other things and they had children.
Correct.
So my generation today prioritizes the child. Now the problem is they prioritize the child. The needs and wants of the children, when I look at their priority, I think that is what needs to change.
Yes.
I think the bigger problem is how we have prioritized children. Now, for children, we seem to have prioritized academic grades. We
Yes.
seem to have prioritized the school. We seem to have prioritized those before the softer, the simpler. I would think that spending an hour with a child a day is way more important than sending them to the most expensive school in your city.
True. So true.
Right? You know, things like children not missing out on family functions because they
Yes.
had some test in school. I would rather prioritize social skills to that.
Yes.
So I think the prioritizing of a parent today, if we can work on that, it would solve a larger problem of parenting today.
Brilliant and well said. In fact, I have clients who I'm coaching, and I'm so grateful that, after Corona, a lot of parents are now reaching out. Earlier, parents would never sign up. Now that they are, it's very encouraging to see they want to understand the emotional and psychological needs of their children, not just focus on their physical and academic needs, like you beautifully said. That's the priority they figured out. But जो most important काम है, जो foundation का काम है, वो emotional work है, वो psychological work है. So little things, I find myself in my sessions telling parents, please take out 20 minutes to give a kiss and a hug to your child, to just look at your child in the eye.
I want to make this comment. Unfortunately, we live in a country that has sold fear to parents in the name of coaching classes, in the name
yes.
of test prep, in the name of academic grades, in the name of the future of the child.
Yes.
So whether it is a coaching class or an edtech company or an insurance, everyone's selling fear. I think parenting is about hope and joy and dream.
Love and
We
understanding.
need
Yes.
to be focusing on that rather than the fear. Because if things go south, they will go south. Can you focus on the positive side, the sunshine part of being a parent?
Absolutely. And the sooner we move from this shame and fear-based parenting to love and understanding, our world will automatically become a more loving and a kinder place. So
Yes.
I'm done with asking you questions, but I'm enjoying this so much. Is there anything you'd like to share in the end for our audience? Something like a message or a takeaway from your side?
I think my message would be more about people like you, Jyotika. Because when I started off about 24 years ago doing what I was doing, I had not heard the word entrepreneurship. There was no career called education. EdTech was not even heard of. I started in those days and I had these stars in the eyes, and I'm so glad I was younger and far more positive. But we need a lot more people like you. The world was quite cruel to me when I started off. But I was young and I could manage it, right? A lot of people think that I was born in privilege, then I was, first mover advantage. No, it was way more tougher than what it is for a lot of people now. It's easier to raise funds. Schools are more receptive, it's in a lot of ways. So I think new ideas, especially in the work with people and the work that you do in the space of helping families, helping parents, helping children, enable them to become better individuals, better versions of themselves. There's a problem of valuing it. You can't weigh that and say, I'm giving you 500 grams and per kilo the cost is this much.
Yes.
So how people appreciate and value what deep meaning, deep-rooted programs like what people like you do, and there are multiple other people that are trying. It's a struggle. I hope this world gets a little more kinder, because I am very, very positive, because I've seen this world change in the past 20 years to become more kinder to singers and musicians and artists and stand-up comics.
Yes.
It's a profession today. So I know that the world has learned to be more kind. I hope it gets a little more kinder to our form of, people who are trying to make a difference to the world. So that's my hope, and that's a thought that came after, having this lovely conversation with you.
Thank you so much. And I'm known to be an encourager in my family and in my circle, but I feel you are an encourager for me. Because every time I talk to you, you'd say that you believe in us, you believe in our work, you will succeed. That's enough for me. Because I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. It's my calling, it's my passion, it's my purpose. And I know it will happen. But when people like you validate that, it means a lot. So I'm very, very thankful to you for your support. World needs more people like you. World needs your flame. And today has been a very, very enriching podcast for me because I get to know you not just as a professional, as a man with a passion and purpose, but you as a person. And this is the message that we want to send out there. Anybody who has a passion, you are a role model for people to believe in themselves and to believe in others. And the work that you're doing is revolutionary, like I always say. Thank you for being a change maker and a revolution starter.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. And to all the listeners, I think being positive, it just makes our lives so much more enjoyable.
Yes.
So many things going wrong, but that's let it be. This beautiful song, Let It Be. I think it's better that we focus on the positive sides and do our bit. I just want to end with this beautiful quote that I genuinely believe in from the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, Karmanne vadikarastu ma phaleshu kadachana. Let's do what we are supposed to be doing, and why worry about the results?
Beautiful. Thank you for those lovely words. You shine on, stay blessed, and like I said, world needs your flame.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.